The barrel of a Sinari pulse-blade pistol rested between Kyle Drayan's eyes, humming with caged energy. One twitch, just one, and his skull would atomize into vapor. The woman holding the gun had the steady hands of a veteran and the expressionless calm of someone who'd pulled the trigger too many times to count. Yet Kyle just smirked, leaning slightly forward. "Any last words, human?" she asked, her voice ice against the fire-lit sky. "Yeah," he replied. "Safety's on." Click. Her silver eyes widened for the briefest second before he twisted her wrist and disarmed her in a clean, fluid motion. He caught the weapon mid-air and flipped it into his belt holster, almost playful. Then calmly, he stepped back. "I'm Kale," he said. "And you're not going to shoot me. Not tonight, anyway." She blinked, stunned, as if no one had ever dared speak to her like that. "Not since I'm Zelaria Thay," she said slowly. "Sinari War Commander. I killed Terrans." "Then tonight must be your night off," he quipped, 2 days earlier. Sinari Invasion Day, +1. The sky over New Damascus was a graveyard of broken stars. Earth's last true city was under siege. Towering skyscrapers shuddered under bombardment. Fleets of enemy craft drifted overhead like dark, watchful gods. In the central defense hub, Kyle Drayan paced before the holographic table, tracing red lines across possible evac corridors. He had fought in 37 battles, survived 9 planetary retreats, and loved only one person. And she had vanished 3 years ago in a failed peace delegation to Sinari space. Zelaria Thay. He remembered her then, half-shadow in a diplomatic gown with eyes like frozen silver and a voice that made generals listen. They'd shared ideas, a dance once, even laughter. Then she was gone. The peace failed, war followed, and now she was here, the enemy, the meeting. When she arrived at the spire-topped negotiation tower, she didn't bring guards. She didn't need them. Kyle was waiting, arms folded, standing by the edge of the observation deck. Beyond, warships buzzed like flies above a corpse. "You look taller," he said, without turning. She paused. "You look tired." "I'm not sleeping well since your people started glassing suburbs." Her lips twitched into something nearly human. "You knew I'd come." "I did." She walked up beside him, the wind catching her cloak. Her body armor gleamed black and cobalt, molded to her lithe figure like a second skin. "Why are you here, Zell?" he asked. "Because no one else could end this." Kyle turned, facing her fully. "And your plan is to shoot me? Only if you say something stupid. Power games." Their conversation danced along the blade's edge. Every word a gamble. Every pause a tactical feint. She accused his people of genocide on Kirill IV. He brought up Sinari nerve agents on Terran colonies. Neither flinched. But under the words, there was something else. Recognition, respect. Something more dangerous than war. "You're different than I remember," she said, circling him like a predator evaluating a worthy adversary. "I remember you didn't used to wear a gun. I remember you didn't wear that smug look. I wear it when I see someone I used to care about aiming at my head." She didn't deny it. But her posture shifted, tightened, uncertain. Not weakness, but memory. Kale leaned closer. "You still believe in peace?" "I believe in results. Same thing. Sometimes. Edge of the world." By nightfall, they stood on the high ledge, far above the city's ruin. Her pistol was in her hand again, pointed at his head. This time she wasn't. Smiling. "Any last words, human?" she asked, voice flat. Kale's grin widened. "Yeah, safety's on." Click. She looked at her pistol in shock, and in that second, he stepped forward, pressing his hand gently over hers, guiding the gun down. Not out of mockery, out of trust. The wind howled around them. Ships moved like vultures in the sky. Her eyes softened for the first time. "You knew I wouldn't shoot." No, he said. I just hoped the woman I knew was still in there. The city of New Damascus burned beneath their feet, but up on the sky deck, high above the chaos, Kyle and Zalaria Thay stood locked in silence, the tension between them hotter than the fires below. Kyle had gambled everything when he reached for her gun. Not on his reflexes, not on his training. He had gambled on her, and now she stood still, the pulse blade cold and inert in her hand, while her eyes, those stormy silver eyes, searched his face as if trying to remember why she had ever considered pulling the trigger. I should kill you, she whispered. I've sworn blood oaths. To who? Kyle asked, stepping closer. The High Conclave? The same ones who called you a traitor for speaking to me during the peace summit? Her jaw tightened. Don't pretend you understand our ways. Don't have to, he replied. I know you. That shook her. For just a moment, the ruthless Sinari commander, the butcher of the Pelion Belt, was gone, and in her place was a woman caught between duty and desire, and duty was winning, elsewhere. Deep Sinari territory, in the halls of the Sinari Warfleet, Admiral Krevzan paced like a dragon in a cage. His aides delivered tactical updates, projections, data feeds, but nothing soothed his rising fury. Zalaria Thay had gone dark, again. This wasn't the first time she had acted out of protocol, but this rendezvous with the Terran war captain, Kale, Drayan, was treason, and worse, it was familiar. He tapped a clawed finger on the screen where a paused image of Kyle and Zalaria stood on the spire's observation deck, too close. Too comfortable. This ends now, Krevzan snarled. Shall we terminate the Terran? His aide asked. Krevzan's eyes gleamed. No, terminate them both. Back in New Damascus, you want peace? Kyle asked. Then help me. Zalaria crossed her arms, metal gauntlets creaking. Help you do what? Surrender Earth. I'm not interested in surrender, he said. I'm interested in winning without killing everyone. Her lip twitched. You're still arrogant. You're still beautiful, she froze. Kyle chuckled softly. What? You think I wouldn't say it just because we're enemies now? You shouldn't say it because it's dangerous. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Because I might still believe you. There it was, the fracture in her mask. The moment he had hoped would come. But before either could speak again, a plasma round exploded across the tower's upper ring. The shockwave threw them apart. Kyle rolled to his feet, pistol drawn. Zalaria vaulted into a crouch, eyes narrowed. Enemy dropships descended in a coordinated spiral. Sinari, but not hers. What the hell? Kyle shouted. They're not mine, she barked, activating a hidden blade on her gauntlet. That's Krevzan's tactic. Kyle raised a brow. Admiral Krevzan, isn't he? The man. Who wants me dead? Yes. Sudden alliance, a dozen Sinari elite troopers hit the deck, weapons ready. But they didn't shoot Kyle, they aimed at her. Commander Zalaria Thay, their leader called out. You are under arrest by order of the High Conclave for conspiracy and unauthorized diplomacy with the enemy. Lay down your arms. Kyle stepped beside her. Looks like you're the traitor now. Her laugh was grim. Looks like I'm going to need your help. He tossed her back her pistol. She caught it without a word and spun, gunning down the first two soldiers with precision shots. Kyle dived into the fray beside her, ducking behind a railing and unleashing suppressive fire. The battle was vicious. Up close. Personal. And they fought like they had trained together for years. She swept low, her blade singing as it carved through armor. He moved high, picking targets, dropping troopers one by one. When the last Sinari fell, they stood back, breathing hard. That wasn't diplomacy, he said. She nodded. That was survival. Their eyes met, and something passed between them. Not just survival, trust. Maybe even something deeper. Flashback. 3 years ago, they had danced. That one night on Zirelia 9 during the diplomatic gala. He had worn the Terran officer's uniform. She wore a ceremonial gown of shifting starlight. They'd spoken across cultures, languages, galaxies. But in that moment, it didn't matter. She had whispered, "I want to believe in the stories." What stories? He had asked. That love could stop. War. He had taken her hand, so gently. "I do." "Now, escaping the tower. I know where we can go," Kyle said, yanking open a maintenance shaft. "We won't make it far," Zelaria warned. "Krevzan will be tracking my life signs." Kyle reached into a panel and pulled out a pulse. "Disruptor. He won't track what doesn't exist." Zelaria stared. He smashed the disruptor against the wall. A flicker, then both of them vanished from the sensors. "How many tricks do you have, Terran?" "Enough to get us to the underground resistance hub." She nodded slowly. "And after that? We find your people, the ones who still believe in peace. We build something." She tilted her head. "And if we fail?" Kyle looked at her, his smile tinged with sadness. "Then we die together." She didn't flinch. "I've died before," she said. "Not like this." Smoke curled through the shattered spires of New Damascus as Kale and Zelaria vanished into the ruins. The pulse disruptor scrambled tracking signals, masking their trail as they dropped down rusted service ladders and collapsed infrastructure. Tunnels. Each step they took into the belly of the city was another step into the unknown and into each other's orbit. Beneath the war-ravaged skyline, the bones of the old city still breathed. Civilians, outcasts, resistance fighters who hadn't surrendered to fear. It was here, in the flooded underlevels, that humanity still burned brightest, and Zelaria saw it with her own eyes. These people, they should be dead. "They should be broken," Kel corrected. "But they're not, and that's why we still fight." The Resistance holdout, Vault Station 9. They emerged from a rusted shaft into a tight compound lit with flickering lights and plasma turrets welded into place by human ingenuity and desperation. Resistance fighters pointed weapons at them the second they stepped into view. "Hold your fire!" Kale barked. "It's me!" The guns dropped, mostly, until the head of the cell arrived, a broad-shouldered woman with cybernetic arms and a glare sharp enough to cut steel. "Captain Drayan," she said, "we thought you were dead." "Not yet, Colonel Mav. And I brought a guest." Zelaria stepped forward. Every weapon in the room clicked again. "You brought her?" Mav's voice dropped into a growl. "That's Zelaria Thay. You know how many of our people she's buried?" Kale didn't blink. "Too many. That's why we need her alive. She knows Krevzan. She knows the fleet's movements. She wants to help. She's Sinari. She's not Krevzan." Zelaria, ever silent, stepped beside Kale and slowly removed the last of her rank insignia. The silver badge, once a symbol of command, hit the ground with a hollow clang. "I'm not Sinari anymore," she said softly. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Mav turned to Kyle. "If she betrays us, she dies." Kyle nodded. "I'll pull the trigger myself." Alone, together later, in the quiet of the makeshift barracks, Zelaria sat by a flickering heater, peeling off layers of dust and blood from her armor. Kale approached, 2 steaming mugs in hand. "Coffee," he said. "Well, the synthetic version." She took it with a curious sniff. "It smells violent," he chuckled. "It's an acquired taste, like me." She sipped, winced, then took another. "Tastes like burnt chemicals and hope." Close enough. Silence again. Then, "Why did you do it?" she asked. "Do what? Come back. Risk everything. For me." He met her gaze. The room fell away. "Because you saved me," he said. 3 years ago, you could have handed me over to the Conclave. Instead, you danced with me. You saw me. not just the enemy. She looked away. I wanted to believe that you were different. I was. I am. And I think you are too. When she looked back, her voice was barely a whisper. I didn't expect to see you again. I didn't expect to live this long, he replied, smiling. She leaned forward slightly, just enough for their foreheads to nearly touch. Don't give me something to lose, Kyle, she whispered. Not now. You already have me, he said. Too late. Meanwhile, on board Krevzan's flagship, Admiral Krevzan stood in the center of his war bridge, watching the neural holograms bloom like petals around him. Tactical feeds, psychic surveillance, even old Scenari prophecy overlays, all pointed to one conclusion. She's going to the cradle. His first officer blinked. The cradle of Othari? The oldest Scenari vault, Krevzan growled. Built before the conclave. It's where they buried the heart of silence, the officer swallowed. But that weapon, it's just myth. Krevzan snarled. No, Commander. It's the reason our empire was forged in the first place. It can silence minds across entire systems. He leaned forward. And only one of royal blood can awaken it. The room went silent. She's going to use it, he said. On us. On Earth. On everything. Then we stop her? No, Krevzan said. We get there first. The revelation, ancient fires deep in the Resistance archives, Zelaria, stood frozen before an old Terran map. Not just any map. A deep substructure scan of Scenari ruins beneath New Damascus itself. The cradle is here, she breathed. They hid it right under your city. Kyle stared. That's why your empire wants this planet so bad, she nodded. If I can reach it first, I can awaken the heart, but not to destroy. He stepped closer. To stop the war. To end it. The heart responds not to power, but to pain. Only one who has truly lost can use it. Kyle hesitated. And you've lost? Zelaria's face hardened, but her eyes shimmered. Everyone I've ever loved. A long silence. Then Kyle whispered. Not everyone. Into the deep they prepared in silence. Kyle reloaded his rifle. Zelaria modified her gauntlets to handle extreme psionic feedback. Together, they descended into the chasm beneath the city, guided only by flickering lights and ancient glyphs. The deeper they went, the colder it became. Not just physical cold. Something else. The cradle pulsed. It felt them. At the final threshold, Zelaria hesitated. Once we enter, it changes us. Forever. Kyle squeezed her hand. Then let's change. Together. The doors groaned open. 1,000 starlit machines blinked awake. The cradle was real, and it was waiting. The ancient chamber bathed Kale and Zelaria in eerie violet light, drawn from crystals that pulsed in rhythm with their heartbeats. The architecture was neither Scenari nor Terran. It was older, dreamlike, carved from memory itself. Glyphs swirled across the air like smoke, whispering in forgotten tongues. It's alive, Kyle muttered. Zelaria nodded, barely breathing. No, it's waiting. The heart of silence stood at the center, an obsidian monolith shaped like an open eye. Tendrils of psionic energy webbed the ceiling and walls, connecting with every nerve in her body the moment she stepped close. She cried out as the memories hit her, the last time she held her sister. The destruction of the Ilaran Gardens. The day she watched her people become tools of conquest. The moment she first laid eyes on Kale Drayan and hesitated. And just like that, the cradle responded. The heart floated off its pedestal, unraveling, into a sphere of light and sorrow. Kyle tried to step closer, but the force of it pushed him back. Zelaria, he called out, shielding his eyes. Talk to me. She was hovering now, suspended in the light, her skin glowing with blue fire. Her voice echoed through his mind, not from her mouth, but from her soul. I can rewrite the signal, reverse the Scenari hive. I can give them free will, but I'll have to burn out my own. He froze. You mean you'll die? Her lips trembled. No, worse. I'll forget. Everything. Even you. The heart pulsed again. Choice. Sacrifice. Love. Kyle didn't hesitate. He ran through the pain, through the storm, and grabbed her hand. Their fingers locked. Then I'll remember for both of us. The invasion begins above New Damascus. Krevzan's fleet descended like the jaws of some colossal beast. Plasma cannons lit the sky. The city shook. Krevzan stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the readouts. She's found it, he muttered. Fools. I'll erase them all before they can activate the heart. His lieutenant approached. Sir, something strange. Our soldiers. They're hesitating. Hesitating? Krevzan barked. Yes, sir. Some are refusing. Orders. Krevzan turned slowly to the viewport. Then he felt it. A signal, not a command, but a wave of understanding, radiating outward from the planet's core. The Scenari link, centuries old, was unraveling. His army was no longer his. No, he hissed. No! In the core, Kyle clutched Zalaria's body as she collapsed into his arms. The glow faded. The heart dimmed. Zalaria, he whispered. Talk to me. She blinked up at him. Her gaze was blank. Do I know you? She asked. He swallowed hard. You did, he said. You will again. She blinked slowly. You're crying, she said. Yeah. He chuckled through tears. It happens when you watch the bravest person you've ever met burn the world, down to save it. Outside, the sky thundered. Resistance fighters surged. Scenari troops laid down arms. Some wept. Freedom was spreading, without blood. Final confrontation, Kale versus Krevzan. The resistance stormed the last stronghold, but Kale had one more mission. With Zalaria safe in the hands of Colonel Mav, he took her old stealth glider and headed for Krevzan's flagship. He landed on the outer hull, forced entry through maintenance tubes, and fought his way through elite guards until he reached the bridge. Krevzan stood waiting. I knew you'd come, the Admiral growled. Kyle leveled his rifle. You took her memories. I gave her freedom, Krevzan sneered. I made her what she is. Do you think she'd ever love a Terran? Kale didn't blink. I don't care if she remembers, he said. I'll remind her every damn day. Krevzan roared and lunged. The battle was savage, blade versus rifle, bone versus rage. But Kyle was faster, stronger, angrier, with one last shove. He slammed the Admiral against the viewport, gun pointed square at his heart. Any last words? Kale asked. Krevzan spat blood. You're a fool, Kale smirked, safeties on, and pulled the trigger. The aftermath weeks passed. The Scenari Empire collapsed into city-states free to choose peace or partnership. Earth and the former colonies began rebuilding, together. And in a quiet cabin high above the ruins, Kyle stood watching the sunset. Zalaria approached, a blanket around her shoulders. Her hair was loose, her expression softer. I had another dream, she said. I saw a man in a ruined tower, smiling. He made me coffee. He smiled, violent and bitter. Burnt chemicals and hope, she whispered. She stepped close, brushing her fingers against his chest. I don't remember everything, she said. But I remember you. Kale's heart surged. That's all I need. And then, finally, they kissed. No weapons, no masks. Just lips and laughter, and the promise of tomorrow. The end. If you enjoyed this story of forbidden love, blazing guns and shattered empires, share it with fellow sci-fi lovers and let them discover what it means to choose love over legacy. Want more HFY tales where romance burns hotter than plasma fire? Just ask. I've got universes waiting for you.